Good morning, everyone. This is Kokila God. On behalf of National Vote for Quality Promotion, NVQP QCI, I would like to welcome you to this webinar on the topic Insight into Future of MSMEs, QCI's approach to QMS approach to next normal. This is 1 hour and 30 minutes training program, which includes 20 minutes question answer session. Here, I would like to request you to please write the name of the organization you are associated with while asking the question. However, we'll try to give the answer to your all queries. In case we are not able to take all the questions, we'll get back to you through email. You may write to us after the webinar also. The faculty for this webinar is Sri Ram Kumar, Director, Pragya Consultancy, Chennai. He is having 22 years experience as quality assurance head, and he is also a lead auditor in 6 ISO quality management systems. Before we start this session, here is a brief introduction about Quality Council of India. QCI established under cabinet decision in 1996 and it was formed in January 1997. The mission of QCI is to lead national-wide quality movement in India by involving all the stakeholders. QCI is registered as non-profit autonomous society. It was a joint initiative of Government of India and the Indian National Industry represented by FICCI, CII and SOCHAM. The chairman of QCI is appointed by the Prime Minister of India on recommendation of the industry. Currently, we are working under the dynamic leadership of our chairman, Mr. Adil Zainul Bhai, and our Secretary General, Dr. R.P. Singh. The organization structure of QCI is, we have 4 national accreditation bodies and 1 quality promotion board, NVQP. First accreditation board is NABET, National Accreditation Board for Education and Training. Another one is NABH, National Accreditation Board for Hospital and Healthcare. NABCB, National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies. And last one is NABL, National Accreditation Board for Testing and Calibration Laboratories. We have National Quality Promotion Board, NVQP, for all the promotional activity of QCI. NVQP is running QCI membership and QCI auditor and consultant schemes. Please visit to our website for more details. Apart from this, in QCI, we also have special project groups. First one is PPID, Project Planning and Implementation Division. PADD, Project Analysis and Documentation Division. TCB Equis, Training Capacity Building. TCB Equis is the host of today's webinar. Thank you. Now I would like to welcome Sri Ram Kumar to start the session. We wish you all a nice and interactive session. Over to Ram Kumar, sir.
Thank you very much, Kokila ma'am. Thanks for providing this opportunity. I thank NVQP for this wonderful opportunity. And good morning to all, and really a warm welcome to this session. And the objective of this session is to explore the journey to next normal in this COVID-19 scenario, and to identify the risks and challenges ahead, and to find out ways to mitigate the risk. So a short briefing about MSME in our country. 6.33 crore unincorporated MSMEs are engaged in non-agricultural economic activities, employing 11 crore persons across the country. And MSMEs contribute nearly 30% of India's GDP and close to half of the country's total exports. And this is the backbone of the Indian economy and deserves now urgent financial stimulus has been provided by the central government, and a safety net is also available now of the SOPs that is announced by our Honorable Prime Minister. And because of this COVID-19 scenario, which was unprecedented and unexpected, there was an economic shock among all the sectors, particularly with the MSMEs. So the new restrictions on movement within the country has made it even harder for the MSMEs who are heavily dependent on labor for manufacturing and production, especially in the largely unorganized MSME sector. So in the coming months, these firms are likely to suffer a dual shock of supply and demand, along with constraints of capital as well as labor. So these are all the things which we can anticipate in the coming months, maybe after the phased lockdown, which is lifted, which is going to be lifted in due course. So the foremost consequence due to COVID-19 scenario is the economic shock. So real challenge for everyone in the MSME sector. So the challenges of the MSME sector, despite being a low capital intensive, are one of the most vibrant and dynamic sectors of the Indian economy. The MSME sector faces a number of challenges. These challenges harass the growth potential and smooth functioning of the MSME enterprises. We can broadly group these challenges in different categories. These are related to finance, technology, human resource, marketing, and other operational challenges. All these challenges also hinder the scope for internationalization of this vibrant sector. So this is depicted in the form of a diagram or a picture like this. You can see all the challenges which I said now, which is there for any MSME. So how to overcome all this? Added to this, now this COVID-19 scenario has come. How are we going to do this? So quality management system ISO 9001:2015, as you are all aware, and many of you might have been certified for this particular standard, international standard. And this particular standard emphasizes on risk-based thinking. So the underlying thing is the risk-based thinking. Now, this risk-based thinking is much relevant in this current scenario. In the class 4.1, that is understanding the organization context in 9001:2015, it is broadly emphasized. And this is what is exactly is the need of the hour. And in this context of the organization, context means the operating environment and the business environment. Both are known as the context of the organization. So the operating environment is going to be different in the post-COVID scenario. I will not say post-COVID. Any of this virus is going to be there in the world for some more months or some more years. We don't know. We need to acclimatize ourselves with this particular scenario. I think in this context, the operational parameters, the way of operations needs a lot of transition, needs a lot of change that has to be brought in. And in the business environment, there is a pestle analysis, which you are all aware, I think, that is political, environmental, social, technological, economical, and legal dimensions of the external context analysis has to be revisited. Already there are companies which have been certified with ISO 9001. Now this is the time, right time to revisit this pestle analysis and reassess the risk, whatever we have done earlier also, or not done also, now we can at least do it fresh. It actually depends on the geographical locations where you are situated. It differs from location to location. Down south, the climate is different, and we are going to approach, the winter is going to come maybe after the summer. So how we are going to face it now? Bengal and other areas are facing severe cyclone. So aftermath of the cyclone, how they are going to face the MSMEs there, how they are going to face those type of things, how the environment is playing to play a major role in all our prospects and future, that we need to look into. So QMS brings out a broader perspective about all these things in a nutshell, in a capsule form. So when we strictly adopt this standard, I think we'll be able to do it in a structured manner and the surprises can be avoided. So risk-based thinking of QMS. So we have to revisit or reassess the risk. Already laid down risk. The government has come out with the red, orange, and green alert zones, and we are all aware of it. Daily it is in a dynamic situation, and a lot of effort is being put by the government to bring all the zones under green. And definitely, almost the entire country will become green zone with the effort of the health workers, the frontline warriors, and all the people are putting 24/7 efforts. Definitely, it will bear the fruit. And the MSMEs has to take this as an input for social and environmental context. So in the pestle analysis, when you are taking into consideration the social and environmental context, these inputs of whether the workers who are coming to our factory, are they from a red zone, are they from a orange zone, or are they from a green zone, that input we need to take, and also the guidelines, whatever that has been given, time to time updation given by the government plays a major role. Supposing a MSME is in a red zone, then naturally the lockdown period is likely to get extended comparing to the orange and green zones. So definitely there will be disparity among the red, green, and orange zones. Definitely we need to identify ourselves as to how we are going to cope with the situation wherever zone we are. And hence the risk assessment has to be done afresh, and the risk has to be identified based on the present scenario and properly assessed. See, previously we would have done the risk assessment, and that risk assessment will not hold good now, because you are all aware that the present scenario is totally different, and we have been in lockdown for the past 1.5 months. We know, we have seen we have suffered, and we are undergoing the pain still. So to come out of all this, the risk assessment has to be done at a priority basis. Now, even though we are in a lockdown period, you can organize a Zoom call with your own office colleagues and get the help of some experts or consultants, involve them, and see to that you are doing a impartial and fairly revisiting all the risk, and also including some new risk also can be done. This is the right time to do that. Anticipate the risk which is going to come because of the change in the season also, so that it becomes a concrete effort, so that the effort doesn't become futile. So reassessment of risk and action to be taken. That is, as emphasized in QMS, the risk associated with the challenges needs to be reassessed with respect to the current scenario of COVID-19. Based on the reassessment, the risk rating has to be done. So the severity, then the likelihood ratings will change, and the risk priority number also will get shifted. Maybe a low risk thing which you have already identified might have become a high risk now, and some more medium risk also might have find a place in high risk zone. So entire thing has to be revamped, and priority needs to be given to the high risk and the medium risk areas comparing to the low risk areas. This is a normal thumb rule which is followed in a risk assessment process. As also the residual risk for the actions taken for the risk already identified. This is very important. Already you will be having the clause 6.1 is emphasizing on that action taken to address risk and opportunities. If you take the quality management system, it is clearly given there must be an action plan for the risk identified with respect to the clause 4.1 and 4.2. That is 4.1 is understanding the organization context, and 4.2 is the understanding the needs and expectations of the interested parties. So the interested parties are the people who think that they are directly affected by the organization, or they feel that they are being affected by. So take a list of all those stakeholders and look into the fresh needs and expectations now. The needs and expectations, there will be a change now, and the safety and health of the worker is of prime importance. Whoever is coming into the campus of our factory or office, their health is also very important, and our health is also very important. So this might have been in a very lighter sense pre-COVID-19 scenario, but that is not the case now. So the health part has to be taken care. So the risk associated in taking care of the health and safety of the worker, that needs to be given prime importance while revisiting this. So already whatever the risk that we have done, risk assessment, and some action or mitigation you would have already taken. And normally after the mitigation is done, we calculate the residual risk. So now whatever residual risk is there, revisit those residual risks and check whether the residual risk rating is really accurate or not, and check for its adequacy. Okay. So inputs for risk mitigation. So before even taking the mitigation, these are all certain inputs which I thought will share it with all of you people. So the precautions to be taken with respect to the manpower, that is the physical distancing. So how the physical distancing is going to get established in the work area or the working environment, the entry and the exit protocols, and the restroom, the toilets, other sanitary things. What is the physical distancing while operating the machines, while moving the material, and while receiving the material in the stores, or while dispatching. All those things again has to be revisited, because physical distancing is a mandatory thing now. And health conditions of the employee is one of the input. Mental health of the employee. Because of this continuous lockdown or a long lockdown period, definitely the stress levels of the employee would have gone up. So we need to see that's the other part of the employee. What is his mental health? Is he okay? Is he all right? And whether the employee is in a position to come and do the work or not, or during this lockdown period, what was the stress that he and his family were undergoing? All those things needs to be taken into consideration. So the number of workers permitted by the government. This is again a very important thing which as an input we need to take. The government guidelines needs to be taken very seriously. On the other day, I saw a news in the newspaper saying that the government has permitted some 10 workers for a particular factory, but there was a surprise check by the government officials. They were taken aback seeing some 30 and odd people working in the factory. So this is a gross violation. and definitely we'll be landing up into trouble. And that particular factory was sealed by the government officials or regulatory authorities, and now the legal course of action will start. So there is a risk in employing the required more than the required number is again a risk for everyone. So please take that as an input for risk mitigation before even arriving at the risk mitigation or the action to be taken for reducing or eliminating the risk. That is very, very important. And the sanitation facility of the factory entrance and other utilities. This is again an additional burden now, because in the pre-COVID-19 scenario, this would not have been there. Not much importance would have been given. But now we are all aware sanitizers and other sanitary related things need to be installed, and those provisions has to be made. So extra budgets, extra expenses will be there on the part of the MSME employers, and how we are going to manage these expenses, that also needs to be analyzed, and particularly the cash flows. So the cash flow would have been
Ram sir, your voice is not audible. Hello, Ram sir, we are not able to hear you, sir. Dear participant, there is some technical issue out there, so we are trying to sort it out. Please bear with us.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll just share the screen. Okay. I think there was some broadband issue. Sorry for that. Yeah, I was just talking about the inputs for risk mitigation. So maybe many world countries are now trying to come out with a vaccine for this COVID-19. I think they'll be successful. But suppose if they are not successful in the absence of a vaccine, we should also think in that scenario also when we are doing the risk assessment. An outbreak may also be an extended event. So the symptomatic and asymptomatic cases will be reported. So we should be very careful and take precautions. And as a result, the workplace may experience absenteeism, and workers could be absent because they are sick and they are caregivers for their sick family members. Maybe they are not sick, but their family members may become sick, or they are caregivers for their children if schools or daycare centers are closed, because maybe in the near future, almost all the schools and daycare centers cannot open. So maybe they may have the compulsion to take care of their own kids. That also will be there. So we need to list out the employee as per their age group and their dependents. And when we are doing a risk assessment, we should also take these things into consideration and have a risk people at home are afraid to come to work. There may be some fear psychosis among the people because daily, day in and day out, some people are regularly seeing the news updates sitting in the home because they have no other work to do now. So daily, every now and then there is an update on the corona positive cases as well as the cured one, and what are all the measures that the government is taking. This going on every now and then when you are going on hearing this, naturally the psychological fear will come into being, and there is a sort of fear psychosis may also come among the people who are working with us. So how to dispel this? Some will be able to give some sort of a relief or a mental relief, counsel them properly, do some proper psychological counseling, get the help of psychological counselors, and clear their mental fear that is the one of the risk mitigation which is possible with this particular thing. So why I am emphasizing all this is the scenario which is totally different, which we would not have experienced in our life at all. This is entirely a
Ramsa, again, we are not able to hear you. Ramsa, your voice is not clear. We are not able to hear you actually.
Can you hear me, sir, now? Sorry for the technical snag. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. The screen is also visible now.
No, screen is not visible, sir.
I think now it will be visible.
Yeah, now it is visible, sir.
Yeah, my voice is audible, madam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry for the technical snag. So the absenteeism also has to be taken into consideration, and so the change in patterns of the commerce, that is going to be another risk mitigation input. So the consumer demand for infection prevention, as we are now seeing, lot of demand is there for the gloves, then the mask, and also the sanitizers. So these type of items will increase significantly, while the consumer interest in other goods may tend to decline. Consumerism, that there is going to be a shift in the consumer pattern of buying goods to get affected with our nature of industry into consideration while doing the risk mitigation. And consumers may not try to shop at off peak hours to reduce contact with other people. Change the pattern of the entire life and reduce, because person to person contact will be, there will be a reduction in the trend. And interrupted supply or delivery shipments of items from geographic areas which are in red zone. For example, your raw material is about to come from a zone which has been earmarked as red, and you are dependent on that only source. So it may affect your production. And supposing you are in a red zone, you will not be able to deliver the goods at a appropriate time to your own customer. So both the ways is going to be a detrimental. So while doing the risk mitigation part, it's a bit consideration. And I take to address risk and opportunities, an action plan of quality management system ISO 9001:2015, and these all that manpower 5M1E, we say this is the inputs required for any organization. The 5M1E is manpower, money, method, machine, materials, and environment. All a major role with respect to this. What is associated risk in this present scenario, that has to be revisited. And identify the person or the persons implementing this act has to be fixed. Maybe the because
Sir, your voice is not audible.
this
Your voice is not audible, sir. Your voice is jerking, sir.
yes, madam.
Voice is not audible.
I'll come the the audio line. I'll come from one, madam. I think it's easy. I think. Now is it audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Also, yeah. I'll continue. I'll parallelly operate my phone too. Okay.
Okay, sir. Please go ahead.
So the steps all employees can take is when infectious disease preparedness and response plan. This may not be there earlier, but now we are in a situation where we need to prepare an infectious disease preparedness and response plan. And this may be a new one. You may have to involve some health related experts in and around your area and get their advice in evolving plan. The plan does not exist, guide actions against COVID-19. and plan. I think there is again a problem.
So is my voice audible now, man? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just using my phone audio now. Okay.
I'm just using my phone audio.
So I was talking about the infectious disease preparedness and response plan, which has to be prepared in consultation with the health department officials in your area, so that you are able to come out with the address the different levels of risk associated with various work sites and the job tasks the workers perform at those sites. To implement good hygiene and infection control practices, that is also a very important thing.
Ask the workers at those. Implement good hygiene.
So promote frequent and thorough hand washing by providing the workers, customers, and the worksite visitors with a place to wash their hands. And if soap and running water are not immediately available, there may be some water scarcity in some area because of the summer, that is what is prevalent now. So an alcohol-based hand rubs containing at least 60% alcohol strength must be given to the workers for hand washing. And care must be taken while handling this sanitizer because it is inflammable.
Must be to the workers for hand washing. And care must be taken while handling this because it is inflammable.
So encourage the workers to stay home if they are sick. So the employees must be cautious in handling the workers who are sick. Sometimes they may voluntarily say that they are sick. Sometimes they may not say. So strict, stringent monitoring must be there with respect to the sick workers. And we should not allow the sick workers to come into the workplace and do the work, because they may carry the virus and it may spread. And employers should explore whether they can establish policies and practices such as flexible work sites. So employees should explore whether they can establish policies and practices such as flexible work sites and flexible work hours to increase the physical distance among employees and between employees and other users, and discourage the workers from using other workers' phones, desks, offices, and other work tools and equipment when possible. So a strict physical isolation is required at the work spot, and whoever is working in some machinery, uh, suppose they are operating a machine, and there should be fairly a prescribed amount of physical distance that needs to be maintained while handling the tools and tackles. Gloves must be worn by the persons so that the infection doesn't come to them, and proper PPEs must be used, and maintain regular housekeeping practices, including routine cleaning and disinfecting of surfaces, equipment, and other elements of the work environment. See, this is again going to be an extra burden on the part of the employer, because the regular housekeeping already you would have been doing that, but now extra care must be taken for disinfecting the surface, equipment, and other elements of the work environment. So in this case, proper care must be taken, trained people must be deployed, and salaries for them has to be budgeted. And also the consumables which we are getting, that also adequate provision for budgets must be allocated for all these things. This is going to be an additional burden effort, but we cannot avoid it. And prompt identification isolation of potentially infectious individuals is a critical step in protecting workers, customers, visitors, and others at the worksite. Employees should inform and encourage employees to self-monitor for signs and symptoms of COVID-19 if they suspect possible exposure. So proper awareness training has to be given to all the employees and also the contract workmen about the symptoms of COVID-19. It is very important, and if possible, do's and don'ts or like posters can be displayed in the workplace. And employees should develop policies and procedures for employees to report when they are sick or experiencing symptoms of COVID-19. The HR person plays a major role here in developing policies and procedures with respect to this peculiar situation where we are in now. And definitely these policies and procedures, the awareness must be created. It must be in the local vernacular language or in some signboards where people at different literacy levels, they must be in a position to understand what is written there. So the implement workplace controls. This is again emphasized by the government and the labor department. The best way to control a hazard is to systematically remove it from the workplace rather than relying on workers to reduce their exposure. So the hazard and identification and the risk assessment goes hand in hand. So whatever the potential health hazard that is going to be there with respect to the work spot or the people who are coming in and the way they behave, their cultural background, everything plays a role. So that needs to be taken into consideration, and steps has to be taken to eliminate the hazard. When it may not be possible to eliminate the hazard, sometimes it may not be possible. The most effective protection measures are engineering control, administrative control, and safe work practices and PPE. So proper engineering control and administrative controls and the usage of PPEs will at least try to minimize the hazard. So here I have given some engineering controls. Engineering controls involve isolating employees from work-related hazard. In workplaces where they are appropriate, these types of controls reduce the exposure to hazards without relying on the worker behavior and can be the most effective solution to implement. So reduce the exposure to hazard, irrespective of the behavior of the worker.
Sometimes we may not have
control over the worker behavior. Throughout the 8 hours or whatever they are working inside the factory or campus, we will not be able to monitor them. Further, we cannot put one more person as a supervisor to monitor only the behavior of the worker. It's not possible. So some self-discipline is required. Irrespective of it, people may tend to behave in a very responsible manner. So for that, engineering controls will help.
So installing high efficiency air filters, increasing the ventilation rates in the work environment, proper ventilation to be there, and installing physical barriers such as clear plastic sneeze guards.
In fact, now big companies like Toyota and other corporate, they have installed this plastic sneeze guards.
Excuse me, sir, करके बोल देंगे, please.
Installing the thermal sensors in the factory premises to monitor the temperature of the employees, visitors, etc. So now thermal sensors have been fixed in the entrance itself. So while they are walking in the entrance, temperature of the individual persons will be monitored. Again, there is a word of caution here. The temperature will only give the symptomatic thing. Asymptomatic, if somebody is there. Sometimes the temperature may be normal, but still the person may be carrying the.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
Sir, actually, your voice is echoing. So can you please lower down one of your voice, like one of your account? You can just mute the presentation जहाँ पे आपका like open है.
Are you able to hear me now?
It's okay now, sir. You can go ahead now.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So installing the high efficiency air filters and increasing the ventilation rates in the work environment, installing physical barriers such as clear plastic sneeze guards, installing thermal sensors in the factory premises to monitor the temperature. Here I was saying about symptomatic and asymptomatic. Again, if the person is asymptomatic, thermal sensors will not be effective in monitoring those type of cases. So again, stringent periodical health checkup is required of both the employees as well as the visitors. So administrative controls require action by the worker or employer. Typically, administrative controls are changes in the work policy or procedures to reduce or minimize the exposure. So examples of administrative controls are given here. Encouraging the sick workers to stay at home. That is the best possible way where you are not allowing the sick person to come inside your campus and infect others. That is the best way. And minimizing contact among workers, clients, and customers by replacing face-to-face meetings with virtual communications. See, now we are now slowly becoming experts in conducting virtual communication meeting and telemeeting like this. And the work from home concept is now an order of the day. You can at least look into whether what sort of work and all can be categorized under work from home category. Do that exercise, and so that all those which are coming under the work from home category, you will be able to ask the employee to work from home, and maybe once in 10 days or so he can come to the office and report for some 1 hour or so, then go back to his home and work from there. Certain operations, it is not possible, like there is a machine where a person has to operate, or there is physical presence is required. Definitely those type of work we have to categorize separately, and these stringent measures has to be followed. And establishing alternating days or extra shifts, odd number days and even number days, or odd weeks or even weeks. That is what now people are following. They don't want to lose the experienced employee from their role. So naturally, what they are doing now is they are now taking a complete list of the employees and making them into two groups. The first group will come and report on the odd number days, like first day, third day, then fifth day, seventh day, like that. Then there are other set of people who come on the even number days. They report to the duty on 2, then 4, then 6 and 8, like that. So allowing them to maintain the distance from one another while maintaining a full on-site work week. And discontinuing non-essential travel to locations with ongoing COVID-19 outbreaks. So the travel if it is there, some sales people are there, they need to travel and they have to do the marketing aggressively. They can avoid going to the red zone areas. Naturally, the government also will not allow the movement, but still some relaxation is given in the future. So care must be taken for choosing whether this travel to the locations where there is a red zone, we need to reconsider that. And developing emergency communication plans, including a forum for answering workers' concerns and internet-based communications if feasible. See, the supplier meetings and also the customer meetings and all, it is going to be happening only through this type of Zoom call or your virtual meeting. So if that is the case, definitely that is the feasible part. So the expenses that is going to be incurred on the broadband connectivity and also buying some gadgets, electronic gadgets, the budgets has to be looked into. Either you may not be even looking at that option, but now the situation is like that we have to look into these options. And providing workers with up-to-date education and training on COVID-19 risk factors and protective behaviors. That is example, cough etiquette. Somebody is coughing. Normally people tend to use their hand and cough. Instead of that, they have to use their forearm and the elbow where it is there. They have to bring it before the face and they have to cough. That is the new etiquette that has been followed. And the care of PPE. PPE also personal protective equipments that also to be worn properly. And training workers in the context of their current and potential duties. Training material should be easy to understand and available in the appropriate language and literacy level for all workers. So, as I already told you, it must be in the local vernacular language or it must be in the form of a signboard that has to be there. So safe work practices are types of administrative controls that include procedures for safe and proper work used to reduce the duration, frequency, or intensity of exposure to hazard. So the safe work practices is already there. It has to be revisited again. And with respect to this physical distancing and other things, what are all the different safety measures we have to take and how much duration it will take and what is the frequency in which these has to be, for example, washing of hands with the sanitizers. So it may be a new thing which has to be included in the work instruction, safety work instruction. And the intensity of exposure to hazard. And people, suppose there is a canteen that is there attached to the factory or a tea pantry is there. So what are the do's and don'ts in a pantry, that also has to be evolved now, because it may also pose a hazard. And providing resources and a work environment that promotes personal hygiene. For example, provide tissues, no-touch trash cans, hand soap, alcohol-based hand rubs containing at least 60% alcohol, disinfectants and disposable towels for workers to clean their work surfaces. So requiring regular hand washing or using of alcohol-based hand rubs, workers should always wash hands when they are visibly soiled and after removing any PPE. Supposing in their routine work, their hands get dirt, some soiling is there. So immediately the frequency of washing the hands with soap and water, that needs to be encouraged. And post hand washing signs in the restrooms. After washing the hands, what are the do's and don'ts? In the form of signboards in the restrooms or the washrooms, it can be displayed so that it is very clear. While engineering and administrative controls are considered more effective in minimizing the exposure, PPE may also be needed to prevent certain exposures. So correct usage of PPE can prevent some exposures. It should not take the place of other prevention strategies. See, some area they may require a full protective clothing also. Maybe some area it may not be required. Maybe covering the face itself is okay. And some areas it may warrant your partial coverage of your body. So that differs from organization to organization and also the nature of work that is being carried out in that particular MSM. See, the personal protective, you are all aware, the gloves, goggles, face shields, face masks, and respiratory protection when appropriate. See, particularly there is a problem with the respiration and people are not able to breathe properly and ventilation is not that much. So those areas we have to be very careful in providing some respiratory protection for the employees who are working there. So during an outbreak of an infectious disease such as COVID-19, recommendations for PPE specific to occupations or job tasks may change depending on geographical location. So it again differs from area to area, and wherever geographically you are located, that plays a major role in determining all this. And refer the health department updation on the risk assessment for the workers. The health department is time and again, every day they are releasing a lot of information about the safety of the people to be followed and the information on the PPE effectiveness. And there are accredited bodies nationally which are certifying the quality of the PPEs. And please buy those type of PPEs which is certified, and don't go in for some duplicates and end up in a problem. So care must be taken, because a lot of duplicates are also available, and adulterated materials are also available in the market in a country like ours. We cannot rule it out. So care must be taken. You buy the certified product when you are buying it, and issuing it to your employees. That is very important, because we are all in a very tough situation now. And now the last portion of my presentation will be this journey to next normal, how we are going to go into the next normal situation. And utmost care must be taken while reopening the factory. Since after a long gap, the machines and the other utilities will be switched on. See, this happened recently. You might have seen in the papers the Vizag incident, Visakhapatnam incident, where there was a fumes which got leaked from the factory, and because of which people in and around neighboring people got fainted, and fatal deaths are also happened. So the verification after shutdown is very, very important. So while you are reopening the factory, care must be taken to ensure that you form a team of experienced consultants and technocrats and industry experts and government officials to do the verification before starting them. Ensure that all safety parameters are being followed, nothing untoward is there, and ensure that all is in line with the requirements, and prepare a checklist, in fact, so that you are able to ensure the safe entry of the people who are coming after a long time after this lockdown period. So great emphasis must be given to this. So there will be some financial involvement also will be there in this. So don't try to hesitate to spend this money, because it will save a lot of lives. And you should not take it very lightly also. Don't do it as a ritual also. My humble request to all of you, don't do it as a ritual. Please involve yourself fully, because it's your factory, and people who are coming there are all your people only. So no life should go because of our careless attitude. So that is very important. And we have learned a lot of costly lessons because of this. 2 or 3 incidents has happened in the country. After the lockdown, the factories are opened and it has ended up some accidents. And awareness training on health, safety, precautions, sanitation, and physical distancing to all the employees must be planned and implemented. So pakka planning must be there for implementing this health and safety precautions and sanitation thing, and the physical distancing especially. And the awareness training must be conducted in the local language. Whoever is well versed in the local language has to handle this training. And if possible, you can show some visible signs also in the training, or as a PowerPoint also it can be done. And reviewing the plant layout and making alterations to suit physical distancing. This is again a very important thing which is going to play a major role. So hitherto people were working in crowd, but now it may not be possible. You may have to do the proper physical distancing, earmark draw some lines. As we earlier we used to draw the machine area, the walking bay, and also the material area. All those things, lines will be there in any factory. Now I think the time has come now. We need to redraw those lines. Added to that, the physical distancing line also to be added. So that needs to be done, so that the material movement and the time taken for material movement and the delay in the production process, everything needs to be considered while you are planning the production. And working out a practical work hours, so that at least 50 to 60% productivity can be achieved. So immediately after the startup, we may not be able to achieve the fullest production. That is not possible because of the low entry of the workers as prescribed by the government norms. So that may not be possible. So gradually we have to improve the production rates. and working out the cost incurred towards the health and safety of the workers, like consumables like sanitizers, soap, face mask, gloves, infrared thermometer, maintaining the health record, provision for the adequate first aid, etc., and allocating budgets for the same. This is again going to be a very big exercise with respect to the financial involvement. The top management has a greater responsibility towards this, allocating the budgets for this. It is going to be an additional expenditure, but mandatory expenditure. We cannot forego that expenditure. And licensing with all the suppliers and get to know their status during this situation. Because in QMS, if you see ISO 9001:2015, there are 7 management principles that is there. One of the management principles is, QMS principles is relationship management. So the relationship with your suppliers and with your stakeholders is very, very important during this tough period. How they were able to cope with this situation, what is their what was the problem that what they are undergoing. Like, no, we have to maintain a very cordial relationship, and this has to be maintained at a very normal way of cordial relationship will yield better results. Supposing there is a payment that has to be given to the supplier, if the relationship is really healthy, he will also understand your situation. He may not demand the full money. He may be satisfied with some 25 to 30% of the payment now, because they also know your situation. So and also revisit the supply plans. That is very, very important. And making part payment to the supplier so that during the crisis they are with you. So whatever the part payment that you'll be able to do, and which is also should be a win-win situation between the MSMEs and their suppliers. So suppliers are very important at this crisis hour. We should not leave the supplier alone. And salary payment to the employees and the contract workers to preserve the morale. See, many experienced contract workers or employees for that matter will be there with you for the past some, say, 10 to 15 years. They might have been with you. So it is not a very easy job to just tell them that no salary. So somehow we have to manage. They're all our own family people like that. So as a family, we have to behave, and in our own family, some member is having some problem. Definitely we'll be helping them like that. No, we need to make the salary payment where they are solely dependent on your payment only for their livelihood. And talking to the customers and explain them about your action plan to achieve the next normal. See, whatever the risk assessment and the risk management, what I have been talking, share all those things with your customers, and they should see your genuinity, the genuine way of addressing things, and definitely your customers will be in a position to appreciate your move, and so that you'll be able to achieve the next normal in a very quick period. And daily monitoring of the situation is very, very important. Somebody must be nominated. The entire top management should monitor the situation and be very flexible in altering the plan. You should not be very tough on sticking on to the plan, because the situation is volatile now. So daily monitoring is inevitable. And quality parameters, monitoring, measuring, analysis, and evaluation for maintaining and sustaining the quality. See, normally the class number 9 of ISO 9001:2015 talks about MMAE. That is, MMAE means monitor, measure, analyze, and evaluate. Then only an improvement can happen. So what needs to be monitored, what needs to be measured, what needs to be analyzed, what needs to be evaluated, when it has to be done, all these 4 things, MMAE, who has to do that? All these metrics will help you so that the improvement happens. Every day there will be improvement that you can see. So this is what I'm saying. QMS helps you in structuring yourself when you are in a confused state of mind. This is a very good tool where the confused state of mind will have some clarity, and you'll be able to go ahead, way forward in achieving your next normal situation in your factory. And of course, revisiting the quality plan for quality check frequency and make amendments if required, and creating a quality plan for maintaining physical distancing and incorporate it in the daily monitoring. See, the control plans will be there, or the quality plan will be there. The physical distancing part may not be there earlier, but now we have to include that. And so there may be a delay in the machine on and off, and the duration and the production, what you're going to bring out in this new situation and the physical distancing, how it is going to create an impact in the quality, that also needs to be looked into and incorporate that in the quality plan and revise the quality plan. And the main important thing is now the central government has announced a lot of schemes. So form a cluster or group and study the schemes announced by the central government. This is very important thing, which is the need of the hour, and assess the eligibility to avail these benefits. Already some of you might have got a call from the bank or your respective banks. They might have asked even a report also for you from you people about how the schemes to be given to you, the benefits to be given to you. So form a team or a cluster, and unity is strength. So while we are forming a team, definitely it is going to help us in evolving. There may, as an individual, you may not know something, but somebody may be aware of that fact. So the ignorance will not come into as a stumbling block. And not only for now, but also for the foreseeable future. And independent management consultants has to be involved in preparing and guiding the MSMEs in availing the benefits of the government, so that the entire benefit reaches the MSME for stepping into a bright future. So there are professionals who are in this country, well experienced consultants are there, and there are consultants associations are also there, and some MSME guiding bodies are there, and there are chambers, which are Chamber of Commerce, which is there in every location. Seek their help and work in tandem with them and see to that the entire benefit reaches the MSME and also for stepping into a bright future. So this can be called as a gradual multi-phased journey. This is what I say. This I have given it as a picture now in the gradual multi-phased journey, which is self-explanatory. In fact, initially the first stage was a shock. The next one was the realization part, and next we are now started responding to it. The workplace continuity is happening in some places, and it is going to happen in some places. And the re-entry, that is what I talked about. The re-entry, we are going to do that, and we are going to enter into a phase of reimagination. That is a new workplace of the future. Now this is a wonderful opportunity. What I am seeing in this present scenario, as we can actually reimagine the entire workplace and build a new workplace for both us as well as the employees, so that our customers are happy always. And three pillars for this re-entry will be the reactivate the space, and also the re-inspect the health and wellness, and revitalize the property and the workplace operations. And of course, after this, the implementation part will be there, and there is a bright future which is going to flourish in the the coming months. So let us be very positive in our approach. So in the navigating the next normal, there are three P's which we have to be very clear: reactivate, respect, then revitalize. So that is, amidst this global pandemic, we are all encouraging unprecedented and immediate challenges. One of those challenges is preparing to gradually re-enter your space. So the space that what was not given to us by this situation, by nature, again we have to re-enter into that space, and there will be an endless list of questions to answer. I know a lot of questions will be coming into your mind now, as to everybody wants to come out of this very quickly and reach the epitome of your productivity and also the profit what you are going to earn. And with the right tools and resources, which is a very good tool is a QMS, quality management system, as well as a focus on your specific challenges and the expertise to drive successful implementation, you can deliver a effective and successful re-entry. That is a motivation which I need to give to all of us. Let us motivate ourselves and come out with flying colors. Preparing for a re-entry into what will be the next normal at your place of business is an overwhelming task, and there are numerous decisions that you need to make along the way. Let's make it happen and make the impossible possible. So with that words, I conclude my this session, and thank you very much. And I hand over the session to Kokila. Thank you.
Sir, we have some questions. We have posted those questions in your chat window. So please answer those questions, sir.
1 minute, madam. Just I'm seeing the questions. So please include this risk also with COVID-19 inputs. Now, what is the risk? I don't know. I don't understand. And what will be the extra percentage of cost to the management for protecting the employee? This will differ from location to location. You have to work out the actuals, what is there in your place. And the next question is, what about the product MSDS now? Yeah, see, product MSDS we cannot compromise. Anywhere, material safety data sheet is the thumb rule. And physical distancing, how we are going to, it is going to have a positive impact or a negative impact. This also is one of the input what you have to take it for while doing the risk mitigation. So definitely MSDS has to be there. We cannot compromise on the MSDS, material safety data. Yeah. And MSMEs are working with low margins. What will be the cost implication percentage? Yeah, definitely there is going to be a hit on the margin that what we are going to get as a profit. Yeah, I agree with your point, sir. But the thing is, our customers also are aware of it, and the extra cost that what we are going to incur in this production by investing in some sanitation and other health related things, I feel that we have to work out the variable cost as well as the fixed cost and try to convince our customers what is that extra cost that what we are going to incur, whether the customers will be happily willing to share that cost or not. I think that will definitely it depends on our negotiation skill with our customers, sir. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, Kokila, ma'am. Thank you.
So please mute your mic. So before we end this webinar, on behalf of NVQP, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our speaker, Shri Ram Kumar, for being with us today for this session and for sharing the knowledge. I feel in today's scenario, this topic is very much relevant and hope it was useful and informative to all. Thank you all the participants. And if you have any question related to the subject, you can send it to me. Thanks to QCI team involved in this webinar. Hope you like the session. We are waiting for your input. So kindly share your feedback. We will share the link for feedback on your registered email ID. There is one information. We have scheduled a free webinar on Ayurveda, new harbinger of hope in present health crisis on 22nd May, tomorrow. So please, if you are interested, please contact us, as the registration for this webinar will get closed by 6 p.m. today. So we are looking for your participation. Bye for now. Thank you so much.